Greetings, family, and welcome back to Raising the Vibe. In this episode, I wanted to discuss something that's really concerning to me, which is the fact that the new president of Tanzania has hired Tony Blair and the Tony Blair Institute for Global Change as an advisor. Now, Tanzania is the first country in Africa that I ever visited about 10 years ago. And I loved that visit. I loved that country. And for that reason, that country will always have a special place in my heart. And of course, as many of you know, the Honorable John Magufuli was the president of Tanzania until his recent assassination or death, whatever you'd like to call it, in March of this year. Magufuli was well known for opposing the whole pandemic and for using some of the testing equipment to test a piece of fruit and to test an animal, sent those into the lab, and they came back positive. So he had a distrust of Westerners. He understood that these loans that Western countries constantly throw at Africa create nothing more than a debt trap. And overall, he didn't trust Western governments, rightfully so. I mean, who could blame him for that? And so upon his death, his vice president, Hassan, a female, was sworn in as president. That was back in March. We're in November. Within 7 months of being sworn in, she decides to hire Tony Blair as her advisor to do what? So one, to advise the country or her on how to handle the pandemic in the country. And then number two, to restore the country's international reputation. Why? So that she can attract foreign investments, the very things that Magufuli was against. I have to say it broke my heart when they took him out, because that was one of the countries that I thought might be on the list for possible repatriation, but with everything that's going on there now, I would never even consider it. As a matter of fact, as a side note, because of the kinds of things that I've seen, I don't even think that repatriation is an option, but that's a whole nother video that we'll discuss at another time. But there are some things that I think are important to know about. So Tony Blair has indicated that his organization, TBI, the Tony Blair Institute, facilitates the testing and distribution of vaxes, and that his organization may be able to help Tanzania access the top vax producers. I mean, if that's something that is a priority, then I guess, that's what he can help them accomplish. But from a perspective of someone like me, why would we even want to do that when Tanzania did not have a significant problem with the virus and Magufuli had rejected those vaccines? Now, all of a sudden, there's a whole 180 with this new president who was conveniently put in once he was taken out, and who has almost immediately attached herself to the former Prime Minister of Britain, because I'm sure you all know that's who Tony Blair is. And he had like a 10-year run from 97 to 2007. And, really tightly aligned with Bush in terms of the Afghan war and things of that nature that are beyond what this video is intended to go into. But the point is, this is not someone with whom an independent African nation needs to be closely aligning itself, at least in my humble opinion. And of course, the more I research, the worse it gets. It turns out that Zanzibar, which is a semi-autonomous region of Tanzania, has also hired Tony Blair as an advisor. They have some program called, I actually don't know how you pronounce the program, but it's MKUZA, all caps is what they call it. And the goal of it is to lift Zanzibar out of poverty and to stimulate growth and to ultimately result in Zanzibar being lower middle income country. But they've also hired him. He's also an advisor to the president in Malawi. As it turns out, according to the sources I researched, Tony Blair and the Tony Blair Institute are advisors to 16 African countries. It goes without saying that I'll be looking those up, and if I find anything of significance, I definitely will share that as well. But guess what? Tony Blair was also an advisor to the president of Malawi back in 2012 and 2013 when they had that scandal called Cashgate, in which government officials, including low-level down to police and all the way up, stole like $36 million from the government. And really, just kind of moving away from Tony Blair, it's estimated that that scandal really went back to 2009 and involved really more like $356 million, while that country is classified as ultra poor, and they say up to 1/4 of the citizens of that country cannot even meet their minimum daily food requirements. Again, every time I go to research something like this, it just gets deeper and deeper, and I find myself traveling further and further away from what I would like to see our brothers and sisters in Africa doing. I really am not here to criticize them because I don't live in that kind of poverty. And I don't know what that does to people. But what I do know is that the resources our African brothers and sisters have on the continent are frequently utilized to enrich the pockets of just the few at the top levels, while the many at the lower levels languish in abject poverty. And it's a problem. I do think I strayed a little away from the initial topic of this video, which is that I am highly concerned at the total reverse of the stance of the country of Tanzania under its new president. I will, of course, be keeping a watchful eye on it. I do not expect anything positive to come from this. Those of you who feel otherwise, comment below. I'm always open to respectful comments, even if they are directly opposed to whatever my position is, because I think that that's how we move forward, through conversation that explores different areas of a topic. But I'm just saddened. Actually, I canceled a trip to Tanzania because it was my intent to make that one of the next African countries that I visited. And with that going on there, I'm just not interested. But again, thank you for joining me on this video. I look forward to bringing you more news and insight about Africa, about America, about whatever it is that affects and is of interest to Black people on the continent and across the diaspora. And until next time, peace and love and light.